store every Saturday morning from 8 until 10.
Welcome to the Guilfordian Podcast. This is Jake.
This is Bree.
This is Maria.
And I'm Sarah.
Yay! So Sarah is our social justice editor for the Guilfordian. She's been with us for a few weeks now. Do you want to tell us about your section and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm actually a senior at the early college, but as social justice editor, I sort of peruse what's impacting our community and our nation and our world. And so a lot of the stuff we write is cross-listed with other sections like opinion or news or world and nation, because we're trying to put a social justice lens on the news that we're distributing. So we talked about like mental health and sexual health, as well as like general social justice on Guilford and how we can impact our community in that way.
Very cool. I actually think that your section probably provides the most variety, except maybe features in terms of what you cover because of that cross-section kind of feature.
That was a great plug.
Yeah, nice.
It's very
Perfect
good.
plug.
And, as a position, you're the first social justice editor we have had since COVID. So
Yeah, I think
first
it's like a
since,
necessary addition.
Huh?
I think it's kind of sad that you guys didn't have one during COVID, which a lot of people would regard as like a very awful social justice issue.
There'd be a
in
time
their
for a lot of pieces with
Yeah.
that.
In our defense, I also don't think we had sports for a hot second there either.
Well, not really, but
Yeah. I think there was at least a semester or two when we didn't have a sports section either, which is unfortunate because Guilford, I think, was trying to become like a sports-centric school at one point. We have like every sport team imaginable, I feel like.
and every exercise science major ever in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah. I don't know why, though.
I'm not sure. I was just discussing with a few of my fellow sports studies majors. We were trying to figure out how much of our campus is in sports studies.
I think like 70%.
No, I don't think it's that high.
Maybe like 30 or 40.
30 or
which is
40 is
still a
Really?
lot.
That's a
That's
lot for a
that's
liberal arts
Yeah,
college.
A lot of your intro classes, like intro statistics or something, are just like filled with them.
Yeah.
Business majors.
I feel like since I've been here, I've had at least one sports like management person in all of my classes.
Yeah, the sports studies is mainly split between the exercise science side of it and the sports management side of it, which is what I'm on.
Which is
And,
interesting.
very big population on campus. I remember during the furloughs that were going on around COVID when one of our former presidents left. I remember how angry everyone was that when a bunch of majors got cut, sports management got to stay. So
Yeah, because that's such a weird thing to.
Yeah, they cut geology.
they cut a bunch of.
Wasn't it just like a bunch of science
Yeah,
programs?
but also
Mainly
like
was.
language
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and like humanities. They cut the
Weird.
ethics department entirely, like philosophy, and so now they
Oh,
have to join
yeah.
that to the studies department.
A lot
Well-
of what you would think of for a liberal arts college was gone.
Yeah,
Because Guilford was very much like a writing-heavy school. And
Yeah.
That much emphasis on like the hard sciences, like chemistry and physics and sports, was like very unexpected. But it's also where the money is. So
It's where
Yeah.
a big portion of our students.
I mean, I came here for the writing
Well, it still
extensive
is.
programs because I'm a creative writing major. So it was interesting to me to see more sports-centric majors and criminal justice. I've seen a lot of them.
because they all want to be cops. No offense.
No offense. No offense to the people doing their major.
You could have just said they want to be cops. Didn't have to think. When you tag on the no offense at the end.
That's where
kind
things
of-
get questionable,
Personally,
Sarah.
yeah.
Obviously, you're social justice editor, so that's
Yeah.
that's
I
a
mean,
topic you need
yes.
to discuss quite a bit.
I'm allowed to be. Am I allowed to curse?
No.
Okay.
That you are not allowed to do.
There's
I
a
love.
lot of this happening. We apologize if that offends anyone.
Yeah, I promise I'm a good person sometimes.
No.
Sometimes.
I love how
Ladies and
as soon
gentlemen,
as
that's our sports social justice editor in charge of very sensitive topics. She's a good person in her words
Sometimes.
most of the time.
I'm just a little bit charged.
Well, you are an early college student.
That's true.
You are
I'm
still
very
it's an
driven.
interesting
Very
time.
driven.
It's also an interesting time for the Guilfordian, given what's where our paper is. So it's an exciting time, but there's
Yes.
also other
Lots
things
of
with that.
room for progress and growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just demonstrating that.
Yes, early
Is that also your
college.
headquarters too?
Yes.
Hobbs?
Also,
yeah,
yes.
We're hoping to keep.
Yeah.
Yes, hoping to keep forever. But it's also nice to kind of have early college students more represented in the Guilfordian, because when I started writing 2 semesters ago, I wasn't aware that early college was a thing.
Yeah,
I did
feel
not
there's a
know.
Huge disconnect, and when I was like originally at Guilford, I felt that there was a lot of disdain against early college students because we don't pay for tuition and we have like. Yeah, we don't pay for tuition.
I have
There's
one
an
question
agreement with
about early college students. Why do you travel in packs?
Okay, so a lot of well, have a lot of like classes with our friends. Like it's
Right.
mostly just like we're the only person under 18 in the room.
Right.
And so I think it's more a comfort thing. It's also like scary traveling.
Because I'll see like 8 of you migrating across
It's
campus
also, like,
together.
We have a lot of designated social time, like together. Like as
Interesting.
Seniors, I don't see other seniors a whole lot.
Well, that's because you're bouncing around in college courses,
Yeah,
probably.
Exactly. So like I don't have like lunch hour with all my friends where they all have the same break period.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Our opinion editor Miles is also an early
Yeah.
college student. He has brought this up before that you guys travel in packs.
Well, okay. So
Next time I see some walking through the grill, I'm gonna start barking at them
Just for the funsies.
just for fun.
they would think you're a predator.
I think
It
that's
doesn't
kind of
fit
the
with my
point.
complexion. That's probably not the best.
No.
Yeah, as a sport, yeah.
Maybe have someone that like wears a beanie bark or something.
So we make Chris wear a beanie
Yeah,
and have him
yeah.
have him walk.
I have
That would be
beanies.
the-
I
You
can
have beanies?
No, did you
Yeah.
see
But
it?
you're terrifying, Maria. That's
I'm
the
not
thing.
saying do with the information what you will, but I just think it would be really funny if someone saw a bunch of early college kids going into the grill and you got down on all fours, but just really loud.
And then the 15-year-olds would report you, and you would get kicked off campus.
See,
What
that's
do
called
you
an
know?
occupational
They
hazard.
are kind of annoying, like, especially in upperclassmen, but it's also like they're little kids.
Yeah, they are children, so we
Yeah.
can't be mean to the children,
Well,
Not only
Jake.
that, but, like,
Well-
they're just put on this like college campus.
Yeah, I'm
They're
sure
little
it's
kids.
scary.
Yeah.
Can I just gotta
Yes,
say,
sorry.
I know, but like it just annoys me. The early oop,
It's a phone call.
we forgot to put D&D. I'm sorry, guys. We can't answer calls on the
Whoopsies.
podcast live. I'm sorry. But but early college kids get on my nerves sometimes, no offense, because I be at the grill, right? And they wouldn't listen to their names or their numbers when they're being called, and sometimes I do want to yell at them just to scare them. I know I'm not
I
allowed
don't
to
know
scare the
what this
children.
disdain towards scaring the. Maybe it's because I'm closer in age to you guys, because I'm like a sophomore. I'm
old and
19.
bitter. That's
I mean,
why.
You're only like
It's not
20.
about being mature, but it's also like they before this probably had very little access to having their own money and going out
True.
by themselves. So like
Yeah.
turning for us into an environment where they don't have the skills or like the experience in the same way we do.
Yeah.
But I think like as they get older, I mean, they get better.
Yeah, I kind of like the fact that we're having a couple sophomores be kind of introduced to the Guilfordian as future editors. Right now, it's kind of a mentor program that we've implemented, and we have a few of Sarah's little children as she likes to call them. And I'm actually really enjoying having them around. They're all extremely mature for their age, and they seem like they're enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really like you guys, and you know they're very interested in writing. That's why they joined, and you know ECG trying to like model Guilford has a very writing heavy like program, and like the stuff that we're writing is supposed to be college caliber because they're sending us to college. So,
Right.
Yeah, I mean they have the experience and the knowledge, and they just want the skills and social interaction with you guys.
Right. Well, today's topic was not about early college, but no, I think it was a great tangent and something that was important for the listeners to know, especially if you are from Guilford and you do see those early college kids around. Try to be nice.
I'll
Sorry.
I'll
Also,
try.
early college kids, if you are tuning in,
Jake Davis is gonna bark at you.
no, not
Just
that-
fair warning,
not
fair
just
warning.
that, but writing for the Guilfordian now counts as what do you guys call it?
Volunteer
Service
hours.
So
Service
you fill
hours.
out a SLAP form and get that approved through cash, and you can get service hours for writing or doing interviews or taking pictures for us.
So,
I won't bark
wait.
at you if you do that. I promise.
oh, yes, Maria.
I just want to say a PSA for the early college kids, just so you don't get on my nerves that I don't ever yell at you. Please, when we're at the grill, listen for your number. Please don't get in the college's students' way, because we will get annoyed and we'll yell.
Yeah, because they have less time to get lunch, my guys.
Yeah, so I just for any early college kid listening out there, just heed my warning and we'll be fine. The college kids, the actual college kids will hate you a little less.
Yes, well, we're actually a pretty chill college campus for the most part. But moving on from that, real quick, let's talk about the stories we have coming out this week. And then we'll move on to the meat and potatoes of this podcast, which is a bit deeper than last week's nostalgia topic.
Yeah, a bit more serious this week.
But in terms of the columns we have a lot of interesting ones. We have Maria's coffee column is coming out this week. Maria, would
Oh,
you like to
yeah.
touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, I drink coffee. I love drinking coffee. And I do a column about my...
Sarah, facial expressions.
I'm good.
Oh my
And
god.
this is one of those times where I wish we had video so you guys could have
Just so
seen
you,
Sarah's
it's
face.
so funny.
But as I was saying, I do love drinking coffee. Coffee is the best, and so I review all the drinks in the Rachel's Rose Cottage coffee shop, and I let you guys know how I feel about them. Most of the time, it's great. I don't think I've had a single bad coffee yet.
I
so
think
yeah.
you've had average, but not any outright bad.
Yeah,
ones, I
like
don't
caramel
think.
frap, average.
Average.
But also the people that work there are pretty attractive, typically.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's quite the incentive to go visit.
I mean, yeah,
If
true.
you're ever wondering about what you'd like to get to drink, as Maria said, she's got a column on it.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 drinks now.
I think so.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. For my column this week, when I originally chose this topic, I thought there was a single season of the new How to Train Your Dragon show. There was 4 of them, so I watched the entire show in a single weekend and then reviewed it. It was actually a blast, and the show wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was pretty fun. We, for opinion this week, have a pros and cons of Black History Month, which I did not realize until I just looked at it, and it's pretty cool. I did not know about that piece. No, Miles is doing a staff ed for Black History Month though as well. And then we have another opinion piece for Hogwarts Legacy, the game,
Nice.
essentially talking about J.K. Rowling and all of the problems, which there are many. And then lastly, we have a features piece on the new Ant-Man spoiler-free review of the new Ant-Man movie, Quantumania.
Yes,
That is how you
went to
say
see
it.
last night.
My parents have seen it, and they really enjoyed it. I have not had the chance to go see it.
Apparently it's like the second most hated movie though.
Oh,
next
no.
to
Yeah,
what's it? The
reviews have not been
Eternals.
great.
But
To the
it's
what?
all
Next to
bad.
the Eternals. Like I think Eternals and them are
Oh.
like both up there for the worst
Interesting.
MCU.
Well,
movies.
for
The Eternals.
oh really?
I do too.
I don't watch
It's
it,
very
but
hit or
it's just
miss.
like, this is a cool movie.
Well, I think my next column topic is gonna kind of be reviewing Phase 4 and the starting of Phase 5. But I won't get into that because that's a longer conversation for a different day. So the meat and potatoes, as I so lovingly called it earlier, of the podcast this time is, like we said, a little bit deeper than our other topic last week. COVID and
Mental health.
mental health after effects of that, both on campus and as students. And we actually have a pretty nice age range, I would say, in terms of an early college. We have 2 veteran seniors, I guess, and then myself, I'm a sophomore. So who wants to dig into this one first?
You're all looking at me. So, I mean, personally, when COVID started, I had just entered my second semester of my freshman year of high school, so I hadn't even turned 16 yet. And then when I finally came back to campus, because I didn't return for the rest of freshman or sophomore year, I was a junior in high school and was beginning my first college class ever. So I did 4 or 5 APs completely online and then went to college. So that was a crazy transition, and I imagine for people that graduated high school in that time period and then went to college without the preparation of a place like ACG, that would be very jarring.
That was what happened to me.
Yeah, I know.
That was crazy.
But I think in general, like during the pandemic, people experienced a lot of isolation and depression, and the lack of social interaction, the lack of face-to-face interaction, especially, was very sort of eye-opening for a lot of people. But then post-COVID, we had this sort of after effect where it's like back to reality, but it's a new reality that a lot of us don't recognize, and so we're sort of seeing people come out of their shells in terms of like the stigma in relation to mental health struggles. We're seeing rates in people reporting mental health crises rise, and whether that's because there's less stigma around it or because the actual rates are increasing, there's a little bit of concern for both, but I think both are probably true. People are seeing more of their peers and people on social media talk about feeling alone and feeling depressed and feeling like inclinations of self-harm or things like that. And they feel as if they need to talk about it. And then the thing that we've really tried to pinpoint this week is the lack of access, because there's an increase in need, but not an increase in resources. So we need to catch up with that.
Yeah, speaking on that, last week we had a piece covering the lack of resources, or I guess not the lack of resources, but the resources available on campus. Your child, as she calls it, Caroline Boone, wrote a piece on, I don't remember exactly what it's called. Do you want to talk about it? I think was the headline. Yeah, that's right.
Barriers to access it to Guilford's mental health resources. So it focused on the Counseling Wellness Center at Guilford, which is located at 1203 Rachel Carson Court. I'm being scooted. Am I scooting back?
No.
Yes. Oh, into the microphone. Hello. Oopsies. But basically, we found that over 60% of college students right now meet the criteria for at least one mental health condition.
Wow, really?
Yeah, right? Like, that's awful.
That makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, but the amount of people that can actually learn about the resources available to them and then actually access those resources is incredibly different from the actual need for it.
Yeah.
We just have a very minimal staff here at Guilford. I think we maybe have 3 or 4 staff members at the counseling center.
Yeah.
They're stretched very thin. They do one-on-one counseling. They can refer you to counseling resources outside of Guilford. There's sexual health crises counseling. They do rapid pregnancy tests and can refer you to STD testing and Title IX people. But the issue is that so many people are in need of this, and there's simply just not the time and money and people to address it.
One thing I will throw in here, I believe it's in the article as well, but I know we're talking about the stigma of mental health and talking to folks that's a big one that we address there in person with them, speaking with them, because I was not there with the article, but I have been there before.
Well, you and I went there recently.
Yeah, this is what I'm referencing.
Oh, okay.
So what we learned is there's no need to be worried about them putting you in a straitjacket and throwing you in the back of a van. They don't do that. So if anyone listening has been considering that but is worried about that outcome, there's no need. Just go talk. They're available.
Yes, I actually started working with a counseling center, and I can kind of speak on that and kind of on the stigma, I think, as well. I think that isolation, especially for me, because how my situation was is my parents were both essential workers, my sister had just moved out, and my little brother was in daycare and not school. So he was still able to go to daycare, which my mom worked at. So in terms of that, I was literally alone in my house, occasionally having online classes, which for high school was extremely buggy, and that happened my junior and senior year of high school. So it was wild to kind of come to terms with, I was that person in high school that did the absolute most. I was in shows, I was in choir because it was an arts school, and I did all honors courses. So it was kind of a shell shock to go from doing the absolute most to absolutely nothing almost every day. And I think the mental health, I think it hit all of us in different ways during the isolation, and coming forth is both easier and harder now than ever, because you have people kind of playing it up almost in a bad way, using it as an excuse almost, or I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't sound mean, but you guys know what I'm saying, right?
Some people, I believe, what you're looking for. Some people will use it as a crutch.
Yes,
now that people are more accommodating of it, that's what we have seen.
Which is unfortunate, because I feel like some of these problems, you need that support and that system, and some people are just kind of over helping other people because they're taken advantage of, which I think is very sad for close friend groups that have that problem.
I think in terms of addressing isolation, we sort of have a double whammy as a college institution, because entering college as a freshman or whatever is in itself an isolating experience. You have people that don't know anyone and might be from out of state or don't know the area, and so they have to reintroduce themselves to this entirely new environment, and then they're coming out of this incredibly isolating experience to begin with. Louder.
Yeah. We need to speak louder.
No, well, you're fine.
Oh, never mind.
Okay,
I don't need to speak louder.
So I think it's already a difficult position to be in, to be entering college, and then to be coming out of a pandemic, or even if you were an existing college student and then coming back into regular classroom environments. It can be very frustrating and very sort of concerning. How do I make friends if A, people are afraid for their health and for their safety, and B, they don't know me.
Yeah. And that's why I think a lot of our freshmen, especially over the last 2 years, have left, because there is that disconnect of how do I make friends with these people with a mask on. Because my freshman semester, the first few weeks were all online because we just weren't sure if it was safe. And then by the time we got back on campus, we were still in masks up until the end of that semester. And even now, we don't see a lot of campus events or anything like that. And I think that that's mostly because of the after effects of COVID on clubs.
Yeah, one thing I'll throw out, because I was someone who got to come in here as a freshman before all this happened, which I think, Maria, you did as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going through my initiate course. Part of my homework was to go to events and interact with people to build that community and that group and that friend group. because that's so important when you first get here. It's very easy to feel alone when you're a freshman. And while I still did it, I still struggled with that. So I can't imagine what someone coming in and not being able to interact with folks. Like, I remember during COVID, if I'm not mistaken, the way the cafeteria worked, I shouldn't say cafeteria, but the way the caf worked was you would go through, put your stuff in a to-go box, and you'd leave. And the caf's a great place to meet people. That's one of our really only social hubs we have. So it's very unfortunate that got taken away.
Yeah, like when I first came here freshman year with like me and my roommate always talk about how we missed the vibes from that, because like it was a fun time freshman year with everybody here, everybody hanging out and everything. So for it to go away, it's kind of tragic and sad.
Like heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Almost.
because like I remember being able to go to events, having fun, hanging out with everyone, and meeting new people. Now, like after COVID, with all that happening, it kind of like ruined that vibe. And like I remember when things started kind of going back to normal, me and my roommate were a little bit excited. We were just like, oh, like we can finally have that vibe back again. But even with no more mask, no more kind of like separating and social distancing, it just never came back. And we're just prepared to graduate at this point, because we're never gonna get that vibe back.
And it's really sad, but I think the kind of saving grace, at least for me, because again, when I was when I started writing for the Guilfordian, it was as a freshman. I was in the journalism class, but you guys have actually been like the only friends I've made on campus because of the whole quarantine and COVID thing. This was the first like group of friends I made was with the Guilfordian. And Sarah, you've been with us for a few weeks now, so how would you say in terms of like camaraderie, that's the right word, right? Camaraderie about the club?
Well, I mean, I think you guys are crazy in the best way possible. Like, Maria, during our meeting today, just came up and started massaging my neck. And I was like, wow, this is pleasant. And very interesting, because she had just gone around and done it to, like, everyone else in the room. And especially being so new, like, I was worried about fitting in, but you guys are, A, so welcoming, and B, I think because we're in such a similar boat in terms of our interests as well as sort of the social climate of everything, yeah, you guys are very close.
One of y'all come over here.
Hang on, technical difficulties. Give us just a moment.
Yeah, one of our mics is
adjusting.
not working very well, so we need to come and share and everything, so yeah.
Can you hear me
Mic.
now?
Yes.
That was so weatherman of you.
Wow, that really was.
That was a very weatherman response. Maybe it was the tone you used. I don't know, but that was funny.
Yeah,
All right.
the mic is working a lot better. I don't know what's up with that mic, so we can hear you now.
Yay, beautiful, excellent.
What were we talking about?
That's
Oh, Guilfordian.
Yes.
We like each other a lot. Yeah.
Yes, a very close group.
Yeah, like my mom was like, when I was telling her all of her like antics and stuff, she's just like, wow, like I was calling her and she's like, wow, you're gonna really miss these people when you graduate. I'm like,
Aww,
yeah, because I'm gonna end up crying probably at graduation, because like after the whole, like I said, losing the vibes from the freshman year, like this, like I can only feel that when I'm with you guys at the club. And I'm just like, I'm so sad I'm gonna have to leave this and have to start over, probably at a new job, probably never gonna get this feeling back.
so sad.
I won't cry.
I think that goes back to the whole, like, you should come and write for the Guilfordian and try and join our editorial staff, because we are, like, a great group. I mean, that's kind of, like, narcissistic for me to say. But, yeah, I think we're cool people, and we've got cool people coming in, and we've got cool stories. And if you're interested in journalism, like, why not give it a shot?
Absolutely. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh, free food.
Yeah.
There is free food and snacks.
We do get food and stuff on our roundtable meetings on Thursdays, yes. But yeah, I think we're a very close-knit group of people as well, and I have to say, we are losing a lot of our staff. We're losing, unfortunately, our brand new social justice editor.
Yeah, everybody
sad.
on this podcast today, except for Bree, is gone.
And then we have Miles and Jonathan and Callie, who is our editor-in-chief. Jonathan is our news editor. And then, is that everyone? I feel like we're losing a lot more people. Or maybe we've just gotten so big.
Because I know you guys are keeping Renata, Ananya.
Oh, wait, no,
Chris,
Renata's
Bree.
studying abroad, so she won't be there either.
Tragic.
So who is our World and Nations editor also. So we're losing a good probably 50% of our staff, which is really sad because most
like
of
more
you are
than that.
graduating.
It
It feels like more than that.
It's what? You, Ananya, and Chris.
And then the early college
And
children.
the children is what will keep it at 50.
Yeah, it's generational love, you know.
Generational love.
Oh,
Love
my
that.
gosh. I love the relationship that Sarah has with her children. I will say that.
I have a habit of adopting mostly queer children. I'm allowed to say that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can.
yeah.
It just kind of sounds weird.
Oh, oopsies. Sorry.
No, you're good. Keep going.
I'm gay, and gay people like me, so it's like really cool. I help. No.
Okay.
I have one straight kid. I'm really proud of that. You know, diversity.
Diversity.
Man, people without context are going to be really thrown off by this
They're like
segment.
16. I didn't actually birth them. That's gross.
I don't even know. Like,
You're
what
making
to say now.
some bold statements here as our social justice editor here today.
It's, you know, I'm pro-choice, you know.
Yes.
There we go. Social justice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Social justice. Nailed it.
Also, it's Black History Month, which if you
Indeed
haven't
it is.
celebrated that yet, I think that OSLE and CAB are doing some sort of event with that later this week. I think the 24th, and starting at noon, there's some sort of Mardi Gras event for that. But in general, if you haven't taken time to sort of reflect on how you can incorporate Black History Month and Black history in general into your life, I would do so. Greensboro has a really rich civil rights history with the Greensboro Massacre in the 70s, and then the Greensboro sit-ins, and our current redlining issues, and especially with the recent police brutality cases over the summer and then continuing into this year. I think it would be really a good time to reflect on how you can uplift and support Black voices in our community, as well as call attention to the history and continuation of racial injustice.
Yeah, the Civil Rights Museum we have. What is the address? What street's it on? I should know this. I've been a few
downtown.
times.
It's near McGee Street.
Yeah, if everyone who grew up in the area has probably been, because I know I went to school several times, but it's incredible to go see it because they have the original counter and stools from the sit-ins for those of you that haven't been.
Oh yeah, I
So-
know that. I know that. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's incredible to see.
I was like, we have actually a substantial amount of history both on campus in terms of like Black history and Greensboro. So we have a lot of ties in the community outside of Guilford, and I think my Initiate course, which is kind of introducing us to the campus, had a good section dedicated to the railroad system. That kind of is in the woods.
So March 1st, Robin Wall Kimmerer is coming to campus to give a speech from 4 to 5, or like 5:30ish in Dana. But if you can't make that, she's going to be doing a walk in the Guilford Woods at 12 to 1, and they're going to go over to the Underground Railroad tree and talk about like the impact of that landmark. And so if you're interested in learning more about the history of the Underground Railroad here at Guilford and with Quakers in Greensboro, I would really recommend signing up for that.
Very interesting. Very, very fascinating. I love hearing Sarah talk about this stuff because I have little.
Yes, because she
so I
knows
just-
way more about it than I think the two of
It's
us.
just so satisfying to hear because like I feel like I have little to no like information on her section of like her expertise, and it's just it. Is that how I sound when I'm explaining something for features?
No, it just it's just great though, because to think we almost cut that section off.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
there was
so
discussions about not having it.
Because we were not confident that we could find an editor for it. But
Yeah.
then Miles came in and was like, I have the perfect person, and I was like, okay, we can meet her, we can try her out, and lo and behold, the perfect person. I like you were flawless at our first pitch meeting.
I appreciate that. Actually, I was kind of convinced that Miles didn't really want me to be there because he didn't send me the application form and didn't tell me anything about it. So I was just like, I guess he doesn't like me.
Well, I would have been very upset with him if we didn't end up getting you, because you've also brought with you quite a few people in terms of new blood, which I think is always great. That being said, we are still opening up applications for other positions on the ed board, so like anyone that wants to come join, unless you're a senior, which unfortunately means that a little too late, but other than that, we welcome you with open arms.
And here comes the weekly, if you want to talk about sports, please.
NASCAR left turn.
Also,
I mean,
if you
that's
wanna talk
fun,
about
but, like-
social justice in sports, like the Tiger Woods tampon gate, or
Yes. The
like
most exciting
gender
thing to happen on a golf
discrimination.
course in the history of the sport.
Oh, God, yeah.
We have a golf team also.
Yes, we do, and they're really good.
Oh my God, we do. We have that pitching range thing.
And I'm just
Yes,
like,
we do.
why? How do you play golf as a team?
I'm not
Oh,
entirely
really?
sure, but they're really
They
good.
travel
They
to like other
travel.
like golf courses. Yeah, they have college golf on TV. Like
Yes.
it's a thing. They have tournaments.
If I'm not mistaken, the way college golf is officiated and scored is you play as a team and it's an average or it's your best. You take, I believe, if it's like track, it's you have 3 to score, your best 3, and they just place however many that along a big board. They take the best 3 from each school, and that's how they determine rankings.
I also think they do matches where it's like 2 players play against each other, and whoever is like up the most holes wins.
That would make sense too. I would have to do more research on that. If someone on our golf team would love to, fill us in and fill in the campus
We
about
know
it, I'd love to
nothing
write a
about
story about it.
Also, Ultimate
Send me an
Frisbee
email.
team.
My email is davisjh1@guilford.edu.
There's some tea in the Ultimate Frisbee front that I still want to know about.
Yeah. So I've heard like a little bit of this. So evidently there were like freshmen that wanted to break away from the team, and so then they tried to make their own team, but then not enough people joined. So now they're trying to join back to the old team.
Interesting.
We have an Ultimate Frisbee civil war.
An Ultimate
That is a sentence I never thought I'd
When did they
say.
bring out the bayonets?
Is Ultimate Frisbee just disc golf, or is that something?
No.
completely
That's different.
So disc golf is when you try to get it into the hole.
Yeah, that I'm aware. but
Ultimate
what's
Frisbee, it's like you play
Ultimate Frisbee is
with
kind of
each
like
other.
football,
a
except it's a
game.
Frisbee.
Yeah, so you have
So
to
what?
pass it to other players and try to get into like the goal scoring range.
Yeah, and you can't move.
Weird.
There's usually there's 2
Yeah.
end zones. You can't move when you're holding the Frisbee. When I was doing track, I was a distance guy, and we used to do this all the time for practice. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not so sure about that. I had a Frisbee unit at ECG, and if you can imagine, ECG kids are not very athletic, and so most of our sports units were very traumatic. But I think our Frisbee unit, the amount of people that just got like socked in the face was.
It just sounds
there's
like
no
y'all aren't good at
hand-eye
Ultimate
coordination.
Frisbee.
Yeah, no one.
Skill issue.
Yeah, pretty much.
Skill.
Is that like
got the
a teenage
skills.
boy phrase? Skill issue.
I don't know. My roommates just say it all the time.
Yeah.
It just kind of becomes my go-to for any argument.
I think it's just a guy thing.
Yeah.
No offense.
Probably so.
Because, like, the only people who really say it is guys.
Gross.
Skill issue.
No offense.
Again,
We
skill
love
issue.
everyone.
I zone out for the first time in this entire podcast, and they all look at me, and I'm like, "What happened?"
Skill issue.
Skill issue. I heard that, but I only heard that like 4 times, and was like, "What happened?" No. What happened?
Just talk about skill issues.
Skill issue.
The phrase
I don't
skill
think
issue.
I've ever heard that until just this moment.
I use it a lot, so you're going to keep hearing it.
Oh, great! Did you almost fault Maria?
I believe
right
Maria
there?
almost fell.
I was like,
What did you trip on? There's not for those because people listening, you can't see. There's literally nothing over here for it to trip on.
Maria just be built different. Jake, why you gotta call her out like that?
Because I'll say it again, skill issue.
No, I was like this with my foot. Like how I would describe it, I was just like bending my foot to the side, and I guess I like put my weight too much on it, so I almost fell.
Slay.
Yes, skill issue, you know.
Oh wait, I do want to kind of backtrack back to the mental health discussion.
Right.
Yeah, that's the much more important discussion we should be
Yeah,
having.
skill issue. So I think one of the main things to emphasize is like even if you think something isn't important or it's not as bad as someone else you know, because I feel like there's been a lot of competitiveness, especially online, about I have this issue or like this trauma. Like just because someone else feels differently or feels more strongly about something doesn't mean that your feelings are invalidated and that you don't need help. If you feel like you need to talk to someone about something, then there are resources out there to help you. Yes, Jake.
Yeah, I believe what you're referencing. The most frustrating thing for any sort of issue you're having, whether that be mental health issues or physical, anything, the most annoying thing you can deal with are people who try to one-up you.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I don't get why people would do that, because I've had that happen in the past to be like, I'm going through this, and somebody else, I'm going through something worse. You should be happy or you're not going through this. And I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to tell you my feelings. Like, we can talk about this and, like, trauma dump on each other, but, like, don't try to one-up each other, because, like, that just makes the situation worse and makes people feel like their feelings are invalidated, and they don't want to talk to anybody then.
Yeah, and in that situation, obviously, we talked about our health and wellness center. That's not going to happen there. So if you want to talk with someone, they're available. It's a great experience.
Yeah. I had one counseling meeting so far, and it went very well. So I would recommend.
Yeah, their job is literally just to listen to you. They are super highly trained, very qualified people, and they care about their students here at Guilford. That's why they're organizing all these events about your wellness, because they want to make sure that you guys are okay. So if you need something outside of that, like one-on-one counseling or something like with a clinician, like they're there to help you gain access to that.
And yeah, from what I heard, because I have a lot of friends who go to their therapy, they're really good at listening, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They'll sit there and be shocked.
They're
about your
very
problems.
good at it.
They're just like, oh, girl, let me tell me the tea. They're really helpful and really nice.
Yeah,
there.
my first thing was on Zoom, and we lost power in Mary Hobbs, where I was about halfway through, which means the Wi-Fi went out. So I just finished, like, trauma dumping on the support counselor, and everything shuts down, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a problem. Should probably connect again, hopefully. Maybe the Wi-Fi will come back on. That was a fun time, for sure. But, yeah, I think that you can go so many ways with COVID and the mental health. And COVID is still very much a thing.
Bernie Sanders wore a mask. Slay, king.
We love it. What was the newest variant? It was something.
It was
it
called
the Kraken?
Oh
my God.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
They're not even trying to hide how scary
that's
it is
fine.
now.
I'm honestly okay with it because I've mentioned this with hurricanes too. Part of the reason I think so many people get in trouble with hurricanes is because we give them these soft names. You name that thing like Hurricane Bill. That's not gonna scare people. Or like Evan. I think there was Evan a few years ago.
Ew.
You name that thing Hurricane Evan, people are not that scared. You name that Hurricane Deathtron 3000, people will leave.
You know, I just want to acknowledge that I've never gotten COVID, and I have friends that have gotten it like 3 or 4 times, but I stay safe. You know, I have the strongest immune system.
Yes, my whole family's gotten it except for me.
Oh,
slay.
same.
I'm just built different, I guess.
You know.
We're just so cool. Marie, have you gotten it?
Yeah,
She got it
twice.
like 4 times.
I've gotten it twice. It's not fun, and I want to die afterwards. Just you know.
You got it during the winter one year
Ew.
too.
Yeah, and like the power went out, so I was cold, so it made me getting sick even worse.
Yeah.
And then one time I got it at the end of the semester, during the 3-week, and no, before the 3 weeks. So we and my roommate just sat on our beds, and I wish you guys this is why we should really have video, because I literally got on the I would get on the bed and start dancing and start singing from the Rafiki from
You language.
WQFS regrets the accidental broadcast of any material that may be considered offensive or indecent. And hopefully I don't have to read that again.
I didn't know. I wasn't thinking, guys. I'm sorry, but Rafiki from Lion King and everything. I started I would sit on the bed and start jumping up and down. No, stand on the bed and start jumping up and down, going squash banana, what banana. And my roommate's like, "Are you going insane?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then no, we were literally going insane in that dorm. That we didn't have a Wii, but we had YouTube and started playing Just Dance.
Oh, that's
my
fun.
And so we're just dancing.
But if you needed a 2-minute summary of what Maria is like, I think that
That's
story is
exactly it, yes.
exactly what you needed to hear.
Yeah, but I feel like that goes back to sort of the normalization of these mental health issues. Because the numbers are so high, I feel like everyone around us is struggling with the same things, and so we think that they're not deserving of attention and help. If everyone else is feeling this way, then it must be normal, or at least I'm not special for needing to talk to someone about it.
Yeah, for sure, I agree, and I think that is why so many people kind of go back and forth in terms of wanting to get help, because they're kind of tied between I know something doesn't feel right, but everyone else is telling me that it's fine, or that I shouldn't be as worried about it, or that everyone else feels this way. And at the end of the day, you do have to make yourself a priority and do what's best for you, regardless of, because at the end of the day, it is going to be just you and your mind. So I think that if you are kind of struggling with those questions of would it be worth it, or would it be the right decision for me, or maybe I'm just overreacting, you're not overreacting, trust me. And I think that the best thing is to always talk to someone.
yeah.
Even if it feels like a little thing, or you just need to have a casual conversation with someone, I mean, they're there for that. I feel like we're at this point where it's we're so used to seeing representations of mental health crises that when we do feel a certain way, because it doesn't match our expectations of something, we don't think it's deserving of attention or help. And especially because everything is so comparative, we don't think to put emphasis on ourselves and how we're feeling. So even if you just need to I'm having trouble finding the urge to brush my teeth, I can't get myself to do simple things, going and seeking help for that is perfectly valid.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about the counseling center here on campus is that you don't have to set up weekly appointments, like I said that I've done, but you can have one-off appointments. You can go this one time, and if you're this doesn't work for me, or it's not making me feel better, you don't have to come back at all. They do not require you to set up a weekly appointment. And I think that it's just a good, they can point you in the right direction. if you don't like necessarily want to do it on campus. And I am curious on the early college front. I know that you guys kind of know about the mental health center, but do you guys have like any mental health stuff for the early college students specifically?
So we don't have access to the wellness and counseling center. We do very recently, post-COVID, have a mental health advocacy club. And so it's student-run, and they have very limited resources, but I think they've done like a walk to raise awareness and money for a local organization that helps mental health. And they do things like candygrams to raise money for like other organizations, but we don't have like counseling in the same way that schools with more resources do. Like we don't have a nurse on campus. Like the closest thing we have is our gym coach who has a first aid kit. And so it's very frustrating because we're so small and we don't have the consistent staffing the way that larger schools would. We don't have the same resources.
That's tragic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like.
Especially because there's so much like pressure on academics at our school, and we have actually like higher rates of suicidality and anxiety and depression, and so like there's definitely like a heightened need for it, but we just don't have the funding or space for it. You know, we are very much housed in those two trailers over by Frank and the George White House, and so I think we have multiple part-time teachers right now simply because we don't have the amount of rooms for them.
Wow.
I feel like we should start a petition. Let the early college kids
students
to use the mental health facilities. Like,
yeah,
what? That's not fair.
I think it's because legally they're under Guilford County reign.
And also, the agreement with the college is that we don't get services that we don't pay for. So tuition, yes,
okay,
but like gym, not so much.
But you pay for the classes here, though.
No,
we don't.
They
We don't pay anything.
No, they don't.
We don't even pay for our textbooks. We only pay for textbooks if there's something that can't be reused, like an online textbook or a workbook.
Okay.
Oh.
Interesting. Well, I understand their mindset here, but I feel like
It would just mean that Guilford County Schools would pay more money every year for us.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like if, like, or at least the juniors and the seniors, if they had the option to pay, like, a finite amount of money to use, like, the mental health services or something, I feel like, depending on pricing, they would probably, do that for sure.
Yes.
Especially coming out of this pandemic and isolation. I think, like we've talked about a lot on this podcast already, I think people are definitely more aware of their mental health issues and more willing to reach out so long as they have the right support system.
Yeah, and it being on Guilford would be very convenient because we are high schoolers and a lot of our parents wouldn't be supportive of us going and seeking mental health help. So having something like the Wellness Center that we can just quickly walk to, the same way that any other traditional Guilford student would be incredibly beneficial. But again, that would be a GCS sort of thing, and they're kind of stingy. No offense to GCS. We're a school system. We get it. We're sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I did GCS, and they didn't though. I think Durham and Chapel Hill, so they weren't in the GCS school reign. But it's GCS is
very political.
Wild. It's wild over here.
There's some issues. Yeah.
All school systems are, but GCS especially, it gets
there's just
wild.
Like a lot of transfer of leadership and maybe like a little bit of corruption.
I guess it is good because I know in Chapel Hill they did start doing mental health days, like actual mental health days for the schools and all the things. Because I remember at one point at the UNC college there, a lot of people.
What?
Maria's from Chapel Hill. That's
I am from Chapel Hill. That's why I know this. But a lot of college students started committing suicide, and I know a couple high school students started committing suicide in Chapel Hill, and I know they started implementing mental health days in the schedule because they were just like, this is becoming a problem.
Wait, don't we have mental health days? Aren't we? Let me rephrase that. Aren't we supposed to have mental health?
Oh yeah,
days?
we're supposed to have mental health days at the college too, but I don't know what's up with that.
I had one, like I took one last week, but it was just one of like my two unexcused.
Well, we're supposed to have them scheduled.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. Usually the college decides when you can do it. Like whenever we have a campus event, like Mount Brewington's passing last year, we got one. But usually, in my experience, with mental health days, the college will pick it out, say, okay, no classes today. You guys, all of you take it on this day.
That's very odd. I wish that they did more of those because I feel like the burnout for this semester especially has been
the spring can be pretty rough.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Like, especially like in our Guilfordian like group, I feel like we have all been burnt out.
Yeah. It's like I'm really behind on my assignments just because I'm just tired. Like, it's my last year, my last semester. I'm just so burnt out as a college student at this point. I just want to leave.
And it's a bad sign that I'm a sophomore and already burnt out during my second spring semester.
But then again, we're also part of a publication, so maybe that's what adds down to it too.
Maria and I mean, we've had a wildly different experience every year we've been here. So
yeah. Has this been your guys' favorite experience thus far?
Given that it's the first year I've been here, like throughout starting fall through spring, like I don't know how many weeks since August, I've not had to like, have a Zoom class because of COVID. Only like on a few occasions where the professor does it, but like no planned Zoom classes that would have been done. So well, one I have right now is Zoom, but I don't know. Just it's as normal as it can be now because I went my freshman year. I got here when it was all normal, and I was still an athlete at that time. Got to the spring semester, finally got into a good groove, was doing really well, and then went home for spring break and didn't come back. So then all of my sophomore year I was stuck at home. Then my junior year came back. Obviously still a lot of heavy restrictions, had to wear a mask everywhere, and try to get back in the athletics thing, but that was just to a point that couldn't do it. That year off was not good. Yeah. It's not about the mental health aspect of it. When I went home my freshman year and I was still an athlete, I was still motivated at that time. So I went home and they were like, okay, keep training as much as you can. Then after a few weeks, like, look, we understand you're not going to come back. If you guys want to stop, that's okay. So that's what happens. And then you try to get back into a groove and just everything was just so complicated with everything added with COVID restrictions. It just burned out and took all the fun out of it.
I don't know what happened.
What?
The ads started playing for some reason.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh no.
But
could y'all hear me? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can still hear you. It's just the ad was playing for some reason.
Okay.
I think Sarah does have a story though.
Okay, I'll let Sarah jump in if she wants.
No, it's not a story. I just actually wanted to add to something you were saying. You kept saying the word normal, and I think Marie even said, referenced returning to normal. And I think that was an expectation, especially with the beginning of COVID. It's like, okay, when do we just shut this whole, restrictive shit, stuff down and go back to normal? And I think what we're finding more and more is that, that doesn't exist.
It's gone.
The world that we existed in beforehand is not a reality anymore. Think about the utility of having these protections, like all that delivers food. There was not the same level of Grubhub and Uber Eats before COVID.
Yeah.
And so we have this sort of new form of accessibility that was created for COVID. And we're still utilizing it. But again, it's still is an agent of isolation. And so it's not, we're never going to return back to that whole everyone feels safe, and especially for people that are at higher risk for COVID, especially disabled people, there is not that reality, and I think that expectation is really damaging and disheartening for a lot of people and disappointing.
Oh yeah, Maria had a COVID scare recently, and I am high risk, and so I think is your little brother, right?
Yeah.
So it is just hearing when somebody close to you and somebody that you work with has that has one of those COVID scares. And my mom works at a daycare, so she's had a few as well. Mm-hmm. It is terrifying at the reality because I am immune compromised in the fact that it is my respiratory system, and COVID is a primarily respiratory virus. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it would not end well. And I've been extremely fortunate that I have not gotten it. Although it was extremely unfortunate that I ended up doing that isolation entirely alone because the rest of my family was able to go out. But I think that we all came out of isolation changed significantly, some for the better and others for the worst. I think that we're all still struggling to find a new normal, and we're trying to find a reality that doesn't exist anymore instead of creating the reality that we want.
Yeah.
Which is what I kind of see this new normal as a reality that we can build and be better from.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of sort of social justice discourse around, hey, we have this huge pandemic health issue, and how do we make our normal environment more accessible and realistic for people who are immunocompromised. Before COVID, there was very little mention of people who are immunocompromised or people that are high risk for respiratory infections and in general people with health issues. And when we made those accommodations to try and keep them safe, now it's how do we say that that's not important anymore? How do we say that masking for people who otherwise would die from this illness isn't important anymore because we care more about our social sphere? And so there was a lot of ethics debates around that. Yeah. And I think they're still continuing.
Yeah, it's because when I had that COVID scare, my first thought was all my friends. It wasn't even myself. I was just my friends are gonna get hurt if I get COVID. That's why, like, I was so, like, I remember Bree was there when I was, like, coming with my COVID test, and I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to test right now because I don't know if I got it, and if I gave it to you, I'm so sorry. And she was really understanding. She's like, it's not your fault. It happens. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and that's the reality is that it happens. Like I said, I've had several scares with family, and I knew when I came on college, and that was why I was wrestling so much with if I wanted to, because I had a full ride to, or I said full ride, but it's a community college. So GTCC also gave me like a full ride, and then I had a full ride here, and I was really debating whether or not I wanted to go to GTCC because I had friends there. And I knew that I could take most of those classes online, but I was like, do I really want the rest of my life to be online? So I knew the risks when I was coming on campus and when I chose to be here, but I wouldn't trade possibly getting COVID for our friendship or us working out together. And it's the reality of the world that we live in now.
I also do want to uplift Guilford for that because you're talking about having to choose like that social interaction. But Guilford, I would say, was very much ahead of the game in terms of their reactions to COVID. I know that like I would get alerts from GCS in Guilford. And so the things that like GCS was doing was following not just the state guidelines, but like exceeding them. So like when North Carolina or Guilford County is saying we're masking in these state spaces, but you don't have to mask outside, and you don't have to mask if you're in groups less than 10 or so. Like Guilford was very much heavily on their mask mandate. They were very much heavy on their social distancing, and they were very much trying to protect their students and their professors and their faculty and their staff, and not as much caring about what the current policies were. They took them as sort of a baseline, and they were like, yeah, that's okay, but we're going to do everything we can to keep our space safe. And so that was frustrating for some people, and that they were also slower in rolling those back. But I think in general, like we were one of the best spaces in North Carolina and Guilford County in terms of lowering the rates of COVID.
Oh yeah, I came on tour that like 2 weeks before I came here, and they were like, I don't think we've had, or if you guys did at the time, I think it was only like 15 cases in the last semester, which we're a small campus, but we still have a large, significant amount of students. I was very impressed by that, and I was like, okay, that makes me feel comfortable. I made the right choice. Good job, me. But I think Guilford handled COVID as well as they could given the circumstances, and probably better than a lot of major colleges out there.
Like, it's an immense... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, they did definitely do better. I remember, like, laughing at one point, because I remember there was that whole thing with UNC College where they got the whole school shut down, and people already paid for, like, their college dorms because people decided to have a party in front of the apartments, and a whole bunch of people got COVID. And I was like, that would not fly here at Guilford right now. Like, they were, like, I was just like I kind of hoped that would happen at Guilford, let me just say, because I was just like, I don't want to be here no more. It was because I was still by myself and everything. I'm just like, this place
that was
sucks.
the unfortunate part, I feel like, about probably Guilford being so good, is you guys were also trapped, like, for, like, people, because you live in Chapel Hill, for people that are literally stuck in a place that they don't know, in a dorm room with someone they don't know by themselves. I can imagine that being...
I was completely by myself my second year. So it was like, but, like, the reason why I decided to stay on campus was because my house was already full of people and everything.
Yeah.
So I had to find a space where I could study and everything, but still was just kind of lonely not having people there. But eventually I kind of occupied myself with crochet. I crochet little animals.
I feel like everybody got like new hobbies during the pandemic.
Yeah, what was everyone's weird COVID phase?
I was tap dancing. I was a musical theater person.
You know, that's not
and I got
shocking.
tap shoes right before the pandemic because my friend was a dance major and she had an extra pair, and she was like, I can teach you if you want. And the plan was for her to teach me. So when COVID happened, also Among Us, because I'm on Discord and I had like gamer friends at the time, and Sarah's judging me so hard. But those were my two phases during the pandemic.
Okay, mine is, I still go back to it on occasion. I got really invested in mountain climbing for some reason.
Ooh,
I don't know why.
Nice.
A lot less revealing than mine, though, it feels like.
Yeah, I was just like bored, and I was like, what's it like? I think I saw a video like, what's it like to climb Mount Everest? And I was like, well, let's find out. And then I went down a rabbit hole that consisted of like, I still go back to occasionally. I'd love to do it. It's just very expensive.
Have you seen that Free Solo movie?
No.
Oh, it's so good. The guy in it is really cute.
What was
Doesn't do
your,
as much for me as maybe other people.
hobby?
I think probably just reading poetry. I got really into like historical American poetry.
which that's really boring. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would just
Yeah,
read,
I feel like mine's
poetry
really out there
anthologies.
now.
Real
I
tone
mean, it makes
shift
sense
from the
for
past
you.
two.
It does make sense for me as the features editor to do something a little more wild.
Yeah, I
A little
committed. I was
quirky.
gonna climb Mount Everest. Then I learned it costs like $100K to do it, and I was like,
Nah,
well. And then
no.
hey, I mean, I could at least like die and become a landmark. That'd be kind of funny.
Real quick before we run out of time, I did want to mention, I haven't mentioned this yet, but I went on a date this weekend and I came back with a skateboard and D&D stuff.
That's right. I saw you post about that.
And I was like, I have a skateboard. I'm gonna die, guys. I'm gonna die on the skateboard. It's gonna be
This is
wild.
insane. You should practice down in Mary Hobbs.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to bring my board. I guess I'll bring my board tomorrow and show
Yeah.
everybody.
I can't. No, me skateboard. No.
Honestly, since we've been working out, my balance has gotten a lot better. I haven't fallen yet, which is wild.
But
I would rock.
Let me tell you, one time in high school, a guy brought a skateboard, and I was holding onto the table, and I was going rolling back and forth, woo, 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 right?
Well, that's how you learn.
And then I don't know what happened. I just started flying.
Once again, to people because you can't see us, Maria just now. Have you ever seen the plastic hula girl people put on their dashboard?
Just that.
That's
just
basically
that.
what she was doing.
No, but also D&D. Anybody into that? We're
Do
gonna
not
start a
mention
campaign.
that.
They're getting a movie,
No.
aren't they?
We retract that statement.
What?
Also, in the time we have left, I just want to reiterate, there are resources on campus if you need to talk to someone, whether that's your peers or whether that's the Counseling and Wellness Center. I do not recommend D&D as an outlet for mental health.
No, no, not that.
I think it might actually do the opposite. But yeah, just
Yes,
stay
it will.
safe and take care of yourself, and don't be afraid to talk to someone about it.
Yes, and this has been the Guilfordian Hour with managing editor Maria, Jake the sports editor, Sarah Smiley, our special guest of social justice, and then me, the fabulous features editor Bree. Check out the Guilfordian at the website, the Guilfordian, and we now have a YouTube channel for this podcast.
That's correct.
Yes.
So if you missed part of the episode, please go to the Guilfordian Podcast on YouTube, and you will find the recording. It will be up as soon as I put it up. Which
All
will
right,
hopefully be
guys.
tonight.
Yeah, please tell me though, Jake, that you will edit out my cussing. I didn't mean to. Sorry again,
I'll find
guys.
something funny to do.
We will see you guys next week live at the same time with a new guest.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is DJ MJ. Next up is DJ Nikki and Kaylee. So I'll be playing some ads for them, and they should be here in a moment.
And fundraisers, children, families, horses, and volunteers' lives are changed forever because of their interaction with Horsepower. A $25 a month donation could make a huge difference. Whoa, that's less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day. Visit horsepower.org, hit the donation button at the top right, and become a monthly donor. Become part of the Horsepower family.
Did you know that 80% of sexual assault survivors are under the age of 30? Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The Guilford College community is unfortunately no different. Come and join SASA, Sexual Assault Awareness, Support, and Advocacy,